And good morning, Mr. Bilbo here, back after a long hiatus. Let me turn the volume down real quick. Okay. So, as I say, been gone since January with replays. I've just gotten a narrow window of time today to be able to record a replay here that was played, I think, about a week ago or so now, between myself and my partner in crime for Wars of Arda, Carmondai. He's kind of the other main lead developer. And so we're playing on, this is Goblin Town, I believe it's the map, and I'm playing as the Kingdom of the Ordvar, and he'll be playing as the Wain Riders. So since our last replay, I believe the last replay I posted in January was between Scouts of Entertainment and and I think we were played as Lothlorien versus his Dol Guldur. So we've come a long way with development since then. We've been fine-tuning things here and there with faction rosters, and now we're just trying to finish up unit cards for everything, and I think we have a total of 4 more units to add before all our faction rosters are completely done. And we've also kind of got things going with campaign a little bit too. All this said, though, there probably will be another gap between now and the next replay. Possibly. You never know. But I'll be starting a new job here in the next couple weeks. So the good part about that, though, is that I'm going to get a new setup. So maybe that'll make things a bit easier. Anyhow, I won't delay proceedings any further. One caveat to note here before we get started. This is going to be kind of a grind fest. But I'll try to keep in mind, or I'll try to point out the strategy behind each move here. Now, I know a lot of you aren't probably very familiar with the mod. We've had a lot of new faces come into our Discord and comment on our videos in the past few months. So I'll kind of just blitz through the Ordvar and Wain Riders roster real fast. So I have the Beorborn Champions here. They are an elite shock troops unit, 2-handed hammers, and they are locked morale and fear causing. That's kind of the story with a lot of my roster, actually. Beorborn Champions here as well. Carrot Guard are kind of similar to the Beorborn Champions, except they do get a bit of a shield value, better armor, also locked morale, slightly weaker stats because they've got an axe instead of a hammer, but still, I think they end up costing roughly the same. And then I've got a lot of the Mengaris Spearmen. Now, these are woodsmen and valesmen of the Anduin Vale and woodsmen of the Greenwood. And they're really cheap spears, but reasonably effective, though. I think they have a melee attack of 4 or 5. And they're, 300 florins or something. But understand that they are fodder. Then we have Beorborn Warriors. Kind of similar to the Champions, except, hammer and shield. So they're a little bit less aggressive, but more staying power. We have the Bersegi. These are, some more Carrot Guard in here too, but the guys with like the bear skin and kind of that reptilian scale stuff. They are meant to represent a tribe of Proto-Beornings. This whole faction is like a Proto-Beorning faction, but the Bersegi in particular are meant to represent a sub-faction of them that existed north of the Grey Mountains in the Faradway. I had to think about the name of that geographic location for a second. Just a cheaper, more accessible version of the Carrot Guard and the big Ordvar champions. Really cheap shock troops. They come in serious numbers, though, units of 200. You can bring several of them. I think you're starting to notice the theme of this army. And then, of course, the skin changers. There are, somewhere around here, transformed skin changers. I'm not seeing them at the moment. And then there are some Anguirus hunters, which are a archer and then a sword and board version of the Anguirus spearmen. And that's essentially my army that I brought today. We'll go ahead and fast forward to the point. Oh, I didn't realize you could do that. Here we go. Here are the Wain riders. Carmondai's brought. So there's the Wolfborn Fanatics. I believe they're armor piercing now. They're kind of like really aggressive men-at-arms. But instead of having a shield, they get armor piercing. And they have a pretty mediocre armor value, because some of them do have that like metal scale. Others are kind of a leather sort of deal. So he's got 3 units of them. So the game reads this technically as a siege map, so it made Carmondai bring rams, but they're not going to come into play here. We have the Mountain Champions. This is a model mostly created by Argus, I believe. But I think actually almost all these assets are, except for the shield. An armor-piercing, 2-handed sword. They're Falks. Really kind of a scary general's bodyguard sort of unit, and I believe that's where he's put his general. Yes, the general does give away the secret that we've replaced the Papal States slot with the Wain Riders. So ignore him. We have Variag Marauders. I don't think that they are armor piercing. I think they're just really good sword and board. The Wain Infantry, though, are. They're comparable to the Wolfborn Fanatics, that they're armor piercing kind of men-at-arms, except they trade some of that weapon skill that the Wolfborn Fanatics have for a little bit more armor. So that's kind of the purpose of the Wain Infantry. More Variag Marauders. Wain Archers. He's brought a good few of them. Or no, I'm sorry. These are Mountain Spear Guard. Yeah, so just 2 or 3 units of Wain Archers. The Mountain Spear Guard are really good javelin throwers. They're kind of like I don't want to say downgrade from the Mountain Champions, but the Mountain Champions are like the bodyguard tier unit of the Mountain sub-faction of the Wain Riders. By the way, I should mention that the Mountain sub-faction are meant to represent men that come from the mountains of Dorwinian that are, shall we say, conscripted into the Wain Riders' ranks. Then we have Tower Roman Hunters. These guys are kind of more primitive javelin throwers. And then I think they have spear and board, or is it sword and board? I don't remember. They turn defensive after they've thrown their jabs. And then the Huacha. So he did bring some artillery. And that will get us started here. So I'll kind of fast forward a little bit. This is I think it's, can't see it very well. I think it's 16,000 frames. So this is kind of a siege map, or a siege battle, but not really siege, because, well, both sides kind of end up benefiting from these choke points, so. Oh, yes. I So one thing to keep in mind about the Ordvar, you're going to see all these stakes placed. The Kingdom of the Ordvar have 0 cavalry units at all. So to make up for that, a lot of their units can place stakes. And I was hoping that Carmondai might have brought some cavalry, because the Wain Riders are probably the second biggest cav faction. Yeah, I think that's right. They might share that title with Belfast, but they're one of the biggest cav factions in the mod. Unfortunately, he didn't bring any, so the stakes are going to be pointless, but oh well. It's not going to hurt anything either if I place him. Well, okay. I think we are now moving. I might make a cut here when the battle's ready to commence. Yeah, that's probably what I'll do. Because it's going to take a minute for everything to get in place. So I'll see you guys here in just a second. Okay, we are back a little bit earlier than I had originally intended, but I thought I would take this opportunity to describe kind of what I'm doing with my forces here. So I don't really think about these things in detailed terms as I'm in game, because I like to be a bit more of a fluid player than that. But the rudimentary idea I have in my mind is to take about a little more than half to maybe 2/3 of my army and run it through these 2 choke points over here, and then take maybe somewhere between 1/3 to half of the rest, so like maybe 40% of my army, with the 2 units of skin changers, the transformed and untransformed skin changers, and run them over here, and hope that I'm going to be quick enough about it that the ruse that I'm playing of feigning weakness on this side, but that'll occur quickly enough that it won't be noticed. I do apologize for that. I was getting Discord notifications. I didn't want that to come up in the recording. Now, we do have our first engagement here. I think as it stands right now, I'm going to come out the better right here. Thoroughborn champions should win this fight against Wain infantry, but even if they didn't, it's not the most cost-effective use of the Wain infantry, but I understand why Carmondai did that. He needs something solid to hold the line here. Possibly having the Variag Marauders come in first would have been a better option, with them backed up by the Wain infantry. They'll be a bit more cost-effective against the more heavily armored Carrot Guard, though. And he is getting his... what were they called? Wain Archers? Oh, and Mountain Bowmen. I didn't see these guys before. These guys are a cool unit, actually. Both that sickle. Is it sickle or Phelps? I think it's a Phelps. But they will melt under any kind of sustained archer fire of any kind. Because they have very little in the way of armor. Same with Wain Archers, too. I'm kind of happy with how I've set things up over here, because I've got a lot of the Mengaris Spearmen that will absorb any arrow fire, and I've got all my heavy hitters in the front line here. So as long as I can keep this going for a while, I think it will end up going well for me. He is winning the fight now. I think that's probably because of the Variag Marauders getting into things. And then the Mountain Spear Guard throwing their jabbies in there is going to really hurt. But again, it's not going to be the end of the world. I've got all these cheap shielded units absorbing ranged fire for me. Over here, again, keep in mind the idea this is kind of just a delaying force here. fairly similar setup, although this is the much cheaper version of what I've got in the middle there. Because I don't have any Beorborn champions or Carrot Guard. It's really just these lower tier shock troops with cheap spears backing them up. But I think it'll suffice for a while. And then, I do have Mengeris Hunters over here, so they shoot poison arrows. So hopefully that'll keep their morale kind of tamped down a little bit. And then over here is kind of where my gambles, where I'm rolling the dice here a bit. So I do have a unit of Beorborn champions here, and a unit of Carrot Guard. Otherwise, it's just Bersegi Berserkers. And I want to say I have my skin changers somewhere. Oh, yes, that's right. I decided to send them around the back because I think there's a Watcher being set up. Yeah. So I sent them around the back. And if they had gone another, I don't know, 10 seconds without being detected, I probably could have got in there and messed up with Watcher. But in any case, Mountain Spear Guard are not going to be even remotely enough to stop the skin changers for long. Especially because I have a unit of Bersegi Berserkers coming around here. I've stopped them because I wasn't sure about the pathfinding. I was worried they would go through there if I just clicked right there. So I had to send them here first and then over there. And my micro is a bit rusty, so you have to pardon me. Now, Carmondai himself has a really clever ruse here, sending a couple units around the back. Variag Marauders, Chow Roman Hunters, and Mountain Spear Guard. Wolfborn Fanatics, okay, yeah. So this is actually the ideal combination for something like this. You've got 2 units of Javelin Throwers, one that'll be kind of expendable, another that can stand up under sustained pressure, a sturdy Men-at-Arms, and then an aggressive Men-at-Arms. So that'll be a thorn in my side. Here comes the Watcher firing into my Mengeris Hunters. Now this actually, I'd much rather this than any of the units I've got on the front line. And yeah, so I was able to break through over here because I sent the transformed skin changers in. Listen, skin changers are a total game changer when you send them in. They're kind of... You ideally want to be able to shoot them before they get, at least some, before they get into combat. Speaking of, the other skin changers are over here kind of disassembling some of the Wain Rider units here. Now, the one point of solidity that Carmondai has here are the Mountain Champions. They are going to be tedious to deal with. They are one of the best Sword Master units in the game, actually. Probably in the top 10, if I had to guess. But I still think skin changers here, still 29 of them, yeah. They're going to have enough. They're going to have enough left in the tank to power through. So far, we're kind of trading pretty evenly, which is... I'm not sure. I think it's probably ever so slightly better for me. I don't know, though. I mean, because usually the Wain Riders are stronger when they're able to bring Cav. So it might actually be to Carmondai's credit that he's trading this evenly with me. I think that's probably the better take. Yeah, if this were a situation where he he had the ability to use cavalry and chariot units that they could normally take effectively, then maybe you would say, okay, the Ordvar are getting the better of things, because they've been able to overcome that disadvantage. But yeah, so we've got the Watcher routing now. Over here, yeah, it's just the mountain champions, and they're dropping like flies. There's just way too much armor piercing coming their way. And I did manage to get the others, both my units of skin changers are in here because I recognize them as being the chief threat. See, Mangara Spearmen are pretty exhausted, and their numbers are lagging a bit. Over here, though, Carmondai's units have definitely gotten the better of me. Wain Riders victorious here, and their flanking maneuver was resoundingly successful. So now I'm actually going to have to go back, fight my way back into my own town center, which I thought was kind of an interesting turn of events. I did commit my Mangaris Hunters to melee because, let's be honest, their shooting's not going to do much anyway, and I need something to hold the line until I can get my heavy hitters in. So, the Orborn Warriors are over here, fulfilling the role of being both aggressive and sturdy. So I'm not quite as worried about the javelins being thrown into us as I would be, for example, the Bersegi Berserkers. The archer fire is even more effective against them. And yeah, we're just going to flood back in to the center here. Oh, I'm going to replicate Carmondai's flanking strategy, though, with a unit of Beorborn Champions and a unit of Carrot Guard. Both of these are locked morale units. And when they hit like a freight train, so... wow, look at all these dead Mangara Spearmen. Oh well. Carmondai has noticed the threat. He's going to send some Wain infantry. Again, I think I would have... I mean, maybe they were already engaged. So yeah, the mountain champions over here had the general in it. We managed to kill them. Just overwhelming. You know, it was death by 1,000 armor-piercing paper cuts. So that should help the morale situation in my favor. Like I was saying, though, I would have tried to get Varag Marauders over here as well, because Beorborn Champions will absolutely have a field day. Now, with this kind of numbers disparity, though, the Beorborn Champions probably will lose, but you would still think that this is a more cost-effective trade for them than the Wain infantry. And now with the Carrot Guard coming in to back them up, I would think you would want something as sturdy as the Variag Marauders in here. Kind of shield the armor-piercing units in the Wain infantry a bit. Let's have some Wain archers. I think these guys still have ammo. I'm not sure. They're holding their bows, it looks like. So I believe they still do. I see what he's doing. He's going to try to shoot into my side. Not a bad idea, but it's not going to be... Like, it is a good idea. It would have been better against Bersegi Berserkers over here, though. So transform skin changers are just going to bulldoze their way through. And this is kind of... Okay, I'm going to slow down here a little bit. This is kind of a pivotal moment in this battle. So all the units that routed over here put me down 11%. But now that I've killed his general, and I've got a couple really scary units in here, we're going to start to see a bit of a chain route. So first the Wain infantry go, and then the Tower Roman hunters are going to be next. Because what the beauty of the skin changers is that they're able to shove their way through and then attack from behind. Get rear charges on them, and that's just too much to ask for. So yeah. Variag Marauders go next, actually. Tower Roman Hunters are probably... they keep going to... keep looking like they're about to break. Wavering... I honestly don't remember which unit breaks next. Anyway, there's going to be a bit of a chain route here, and well, even if the Tower Roman Hunters don't break right away, they were just at 80 men strong, and now they've lost half that. Because all the units that had been fighting these routing units now all of a sudden have nothing else to fight but the Tower Roman Hunters. And all of a sudden it's a 5% game. So we've cut the gap down in half. I've managed to shove my way through into the Mountain Spear Guard, hopefully silence their javelins. They may have been out already, though. I don't really know. And then we're going to try to do the same with the Mountain Bowmen back there. I think we have another... Let's see, how are things going over here? So it looks like we kind of... Unless we pull them back. No, I think we did deal with that unit of Wain infantry. Between the mount... Or is it just a bunch of Wain archers here now? Yeah. They probably would eventually kill off the last of the Carrot Guard. But not with the... hold on, where'd they go? Spay Orborn Champions. At some point, I know I shoved my way through with Skin Changers. Okay, they're still in the Mountain Spear Guard. I don't know why we're wasting our time chasing. Oh, no, okay. So these are the Bay Orborn Champions that had been fighting over here. I decided to peel them off to get into the Mountain Bowmen to shut them down. And then up here, actually, I don't know if there's still fighting going on. Yeah. There had been a pretty healthy unit of Wolfborn Fanatics, but all my units that had been routing from the earlier fights, I just kept peeling them out of the town center whenever they'd come back, and we'd slowly worn them down from 40 or so down to 9. Maybe not 40, it's probably more like 20. So I guess not that healthy, but healthy compared to the units that had routed to the town center anyway. So see, I really like the Mountain Bowmen. Really cool unit, because they can actually stand their ground in melee. They duel as shock troops. Kind of a more primitive version of shock troops, but... Carrot Guard still standing firm here, 17, and we're down to 82 Wain archers. The numerical disparity still favors the Wain archers because they are AP with their little picks they're using in melee, but they'll probably be able to eat their way through about another 30 or so of these Wain archers. assuming nothing intervenes to stop that. And then it's just going to be a case of eating our way through the mountain bowmen. There's still some mountain spear guard here, amazingly enough. 30 of them, in fact, and they've been up against skin changers the whole time, which is really impressive. Both units of skin changers, actually. We have 18 total, or 17 left.
Our army is tiring.
So yeah, now we're back to trading evenly again. So I'm going to go ahead and speed it back up to normal speed. And the mountain bowmen are probably going to take a while to whittle down, but okay, there we go. Their numbers are starting to drop pretty precipitously now that skin changers are in there. See, that's interesting. The Berserkers might have actually lost that fight, even backed up with a handful of Langura spearmen. If they were by themselves, the skin changers really bailed them out. We have some Anguirus hunters here. I'm just trying to shoot down these routing units to encourage them to stay routing. And I'm going to shoot these Wain archers. Okay, let's see where we're at here. So we still have 3 carrot guard, and we've cut our way through about 25 of the Wain archers. They've just finished off the last of the carrot guard, so we'll shoot them a bit. And I am going to send one of my units of skin changers in here to finish them off. And finish them off they will. Even with just 6 of them that are pretty beat up. They'll carve their way through Wain archers. In fact, I think Wain archers will probably think better of it and try to run, especially with poison arrows coming in. That's, without a general, that's just too much to ask them to stay and fight. And then back over here, mountain bowmen are almost spent. So it's pretty clear that I've got this now, but wow, look at that. 96% of my army gone. Carmondai's a tough player. I love the skin changers. They can just throw regular infantry around like ragdolls. I'm amazed that these Wain archers are still here. There we go. Okay. They are running. And I don't think there's anything up here still. No. One guy left to defend the town center. Wow. And then we killed the mountain bowman here. And that's it. That's the battle. So this was an interesting result. So the way I analyze this is that, so I start with slightly less than Carmondai does, about 25 fewer men if I'm doing my math correctly on the spot. And I kill fewer, in fact, what is that, 56 fewer men? Without taking into account prisoners. But even when you take into account prisoners, that gap actually only widens. And yet I have more men remaining. So you would say that the deciding factor was that Carmondai had more men rout off the field And it's easy to see why when the skin changers got a combined, what is it, 715 kills? Wild. Absolutely wild. The Carrot Guard doing really well for themselves. The Bersegi Berserkers actually did kind of a mixed bag, anywhere between terrible to really good. The Beorborn Champions also do pretty well. They usually get around 200 kills or more. Beorborn Warriors didn't really perform that well, though, actually. It's kind of disappointing. And then the Magiris Spearmen just got in the way and died. But that's exactly what I needed them to do. The Magiris Hunters actually got more kills. Kind of disappointing this one year with 36. 98's okay. Yeah, so I mean, things kind of played out as I expected them to, given the result. Like each unit did about as well as I would have expected, on balance. So thank you to Carmondai for being a good sport and playing this game with me. There had been some discussion about whether or not we need to tone down the skin changers, and I'm not so sure that that's necessary. I mean, when you're playing as a cavalry-focused faction in a battle that's sort of a siege, but it's essentially just a choke point infantry battle, and you still only narrowly lose, I think that well, it could be that Carmondai is simply a better player than me. That is always possible. But I think that things are pretty balanced, if that's the case. So anyway, I'll have this video up hopefully today. Today's what is it today? Thursday, June 8th. So hopefully I have this battle up today, and we'll have some more Wars of Arda content for you, hopefully pretty soon, actually. So thanks for joining us, and I hope you'll join us again for any future adventure.